Everyone, thank you for joining us for the next session of the Founders University series put on by us, StartUpNV. Very excited to have you all here tuning in online and a few of you in person. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing channels, advertising, and social media marketing when a good friend of ours, Ben Laifsky. This is going to be a session about how founders can use social media to raise their startup profile, attract customers, and investments. So Ben's going to lead us in exploring some tactics that work, things to avoid on your path to success, and some practical tips on how to use social media to grow your startup. And a bit about Ben. Ben is the founder and CEO of Hunter Marketing, a Las Vegas marketing agency that's been helping startups and businesses of all sizes for over 10 years. He's executive board member of the Las Vegas Innovation Marketing Association. He's also the founder of Tech.Vegas, Network.Vegas, and Create.Vegas, focusing on fostering a community here in the Las Vegas Valley. And of course, my introductions will probably never do much justice. So Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to support the startup community and StartUpNV. As Logan said, we're a 10-year-old marketing agency. We like to say we bring design, technology, and strategy together for our clients. There's two of us that are principals, and we provide a whole host of digital marketing solutions. We're very proud to be part of the community, and we do a lot of projects to try and give back. As Logan also mentioned, we have 3 community projects. Network Vegas is our business-focused property, where we have all the conventions, trade shows, chambers and associations in one site, a calendar of all of their events, and a directory for those. Create Vegas is more local performance and arts, and Tech Vegas for the startup and technology communities. All are free to join, and we encourage everyone to join and also give feedback and suggestions. The title we came up with is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for startups. For startups today, this is the good. There's just never, in many regards, never been a better time to start a venture. They're more plentiful. There's more resources for founders today than ever, as evidenced by this entire program. Emerging technologies, which is kind of a hard thing to pin down because they're changing so fast. And the amount of public-private partnerships. I'm sitting in a beautiful facility from the city that's evidence of the attention and focus that government and private enterprise for the startup community. The bad, there's more sharks in the water than ever. There's more people that are aware that this is and there's more trying to do startups than ever. The trails that the previous pioneers traveled on are now highways, and people know the normal paths that people have followed for startups. And then there's some people with enormous resources that basically fly right over the highway to get where they want to go. So there's a lot of competition in the world. And the ugly, as we all know, is that most ventures fail. They don't have the backing, they don't have the team, they don't have the timing or product market fit. And that's just part of the landscape. And that kind of is one of the things that I think makes this an intriguing and exciting world, because we know that if we can execute, we're going to succeed above others, and we're going to have the rewards that come with that. How will we succeed? Well, some of the basics, we're going to have more focus. We're going to be biased toward action. We're going to put together the right team. We're going to be focused on and determined, and we're going to focus on truth and being aligned with our goals and our KPIs. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about today are the things that we do before we buy an ad, before we put the larger sales team out there. These are the foundational things that we need to have in place that make everything else we do better. If we build with a strong foundation, then we're more likely to have success in our venture. So the first area we're going to talk about is branding. And this is incredibly important, and it's become something that gets overlooked because it's so easy to go out and get AI to build us 50 logos or 500 logos. it's easy to go out and get freelancers to do the work. I'm going to talk about a little bit of a deeper aspect of branding that I think is important for startups. So first is the visuals. And at the tactical level, it's the colors, it's the font, it's the icon, it's the messaging, it's all of those things that make up the visual style of our brand. And this is something that gets skipped quite a lot because it's something that we're all anxious to get to the sexy part, which is when we're acquiring customers. But part of the foundation is having that great visual identity that distinguishes you from others in your market and makes you memorable. So this is a rebrand. These are brand guidelines we put together on a rebrand project we did for the Las Vegas Innovation Marketing Association, which is a 20-year-old digital marketing association here in Las Vegas that focuses on the cutting edge of what's going on in marketing. So for years, we had this version of the Las Vegas sign that is used by probably hundreds of local brands. We wanted to expand our visuals, kind of redo the branding. And we, as a team, came together and put together these graphics. And our company put together the graphics and the guidelines around these. And this becomes the foundation of all the marketing that Levima does. It becomes the look and feel of how we do our website, our social, our signage at events, our email. All of our channels rely upon this foundation. And that's the lesson that I'm hoping to bring to the startup founders, that in the rush to get to market, this is a step we don't want to miss. Looking at a couple of extremely famous brands, I just wanted to emphasize a couple of points. First, they are the simplest things in the world. They're not trying to tell you 3 stories in one picture. They are simple. And that's one of the reasons that these brands are as well known as they are. Nike, there's no shoe. We all probably watched the recent Air movie. That was a lot of fun about Air Jordans. The brand doesn't have a shoe, doesn't have someone doing athletics. It goes back to an ancient icon. It goes back to the Greek mythology and comes up with the concept of the swoosh, the concept of motion, power, action, and it associates the brand with all of those attributes, with the simplest icon in the world. Apple is very simple as well. We think of Isaac Newton. We think of Adam and Eve. We think of knowledge because we've taken a bite of the apple, something that can't be undone. Apple computers, there's no computer in the logo. There's no phone. When this was made, it was just the concept that evolved into think different. And the visual identity of the company came from the simplest concept that had nothing to do with technology, but everything to do with the company and the values that it has. So I encourage people to think beyond the product when you're looking at what your visual identity should be. I encourage you to think in a broader, more cultural way, to look at not just the other people in your industry, but to look at what meaning you want people to take away from you. And this is something that a branding agency can always help with, to do that more expansive search and looking at the values you're trying to portray. Couple of rules that I'm offering for you: work with a professional. If you're going to use AI, which we all use AI, if you're going to use freelancers, a lot of people do, use that as a starting point and not the finished product. Study your competition, study your industry. Don't copy anybody. And I often have to correct clients, things you find on the internet aren't yours. That's oddly misunderstood. And make sure you like it, because the farther you go down your road as a founder, the more it costs to do the rebrand, the more things, the more shirts you have to buy, and the more products you have to replace. Every brand should have a brand voice. Are you funny? Are you serious? Are you irreverent? Are you casual? A lot of this depends on who you're trying to reach and what's going to resonate with them, but that should be defined. The people that come to work for you, that come to do your social media, that come to write copy for you, need to understand your brand voice as much as anything about your brand. And this is part of what helps you connect with your clients. Your startup needs an origin story. I think we've all learned, and it's been repeated many times, that stories resonate where facts kind of get forgotten. We are predisposed as humans to remember and connect with stories. So your story is you're solving a problem. What is that problem? Can you reframe it? Can it be seen in a different light as before? When you show your target client, when you show people you understand the problem, you build your credibility. You have a solution. Well, what drove you to bring your company to market, to do all this work as a founder, to invest your life in this solution? And when you explain that to people, when you share that with people, that creates a connection. And when you help your clients overcome the problem, when you bring them to a better place, what does their life look like? How are you solving the problem, and what have you improved in the world because of your solution? And that helps you differentiate yourself from others. When you have your branding, you need to know who your target client is, because that informs so much of your marketing. And if we skip this step, the marketing can be very flat. As you look at the bottom of the slide, if you're trying to talk to everyone at once, you're really talking to no one. So you have to have those specific avatars, those specific ideal customers in mind when you're doing your marketing. Your positioning, are you the discount player? Are you the premium player? Who are they looking to hire? Is your market, are you consumer, small business? Are you mid-market? Are you enterprise? Where are they in their in the market themselves? What kind of size, if they're a business, for example, what kind of size business, what kind of budget do they have for this solution? What are their pain points? And this is incredibly important, because if you're not speaking to someone's pain points, you're not speaking to someone. And then how do they prefer to buy? Do they prefer to have a demo? Do they prefer to have an online, a guided demo? Do they prefer to have a free trial? How is this product usually sold? So you have to understand all of these things. You have to understand your competition. Who are they? What do they say about themselves? How do they present themselves? How do they market themselves? How do you compare to them? You have to be able to articulate why your company is superior to XYZ company. And you have to understand how they go about selling so that you can craft your approach. So I've listed a number of ways to monitor the competition, but you probably know you can go find them online, you can follow their ads, you can join their newsletter, maybe even try their product. But you have to form your own firsthand opinion of how they, and acknowledge what they do well and learn from what you can. Either way, it's important learning to know what your competition is doing and how they present themselves. So here, I wanted to go into more detail about the pain journey, because when you understand your client's pain, you really learn how to speak to them and have your solution resonate with them. So the client has a problem. Maybe they're aware of some of it or all of it. Maybe there's part of that problem that creates difficulties that they don't really fully understand. They might know that they have this inconvenience, they have this cost, but what are the other implications of that? What are the lost opportunities that might be under the surface? So in a sort of joking way, we've got this mountain of a problem, and then this bear of other difficulties, these implications. Because they're dealing with X, they can't be doing these other things that might generate revenue, that might save money. They might be reactive as an organization instead of being able to chart their own course in regard to that. They might be losing revenue in the lake of lost revenue. And when they try a solution, the solution might do 60% of what they need, 80%. So there's a gap that they still need to cover. And that gap has a cost because the competitor solution doesn't handle everything they need. They might be stuck in customer support calls, which is another pain point that everybody can feel for. But when your solution comes in, you can then lead them to the best place they want to be, where they have got the problems behind them and they're realizing those benefits, be it increased revenue, decreased cost, increased opportunities, all of those benefits that you're going to bring to your client. When you consider going to market, it's important to be easy and add value, add flavor. So I've thought of butter, because butter makes everything better, unfortunately for me. Are you easy to understand? Are you speaking cryptically about the value you bring? Are you being clear? Are you easy to contact? If someone has to work too hard to get a hold of you, or if a channel is open to receive messages and it's not monitored, that's lost opportunity right there. We can't expect people to work too hard to reach out to you. So these things have to be resourced. Are you easy to work with? Do people understand, how do I get started? Do people understand your pricing? Because very often pricing is a little bit of an arcane art and it can be a little bit cryptic. Are you giving them a free trial? Are you giving them a freemium model? What is it that you're offering them, and how clearly can they see you get this, and when you upgrade, you get this? And those things, the simpler you want to make things, the more time you have to put into making sure that it's clear and understood. And then when you offer a demo of your product, can you nail it? How often do we go to a Zoom and we spend the first 15 minutes trying to make the screen share, or the video won't start? Even simple mechanical things like this have to be thought about. Are you presenting it in a clear and logical way? Have you organized this? Is it something that can be easily understood? Are you answering people's obvious next questions? So attention to the demo itself is very important. When you're considering selling, there's a couple of foundational things before you hire a bunch of folks.
Ben, if I may, I'm sorry. I want to make sure that this question is answered prior to us when we wait to pass it, and let me know if we should just hold questions for the end.
No, it's fine.
One of the questions we have from Ben is: a customer avatar the same as a persona? And if not, how would they differentiate the two?
I'm using them fairly interchangeably.
Okay.
And honestly, there might be several personas because you have several different target clients, different industries, different use cases.
Excellent. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Returning to the sales process, there's a few foundational things that you have to have in place before you try and scale your sales. And even before you try and bring in, a lot of times we don't give attention to the process. We try and find the person. And I'm suggesting that for this all to be aligned, for your sales and marketing to work in concert, you have to have the process, which is informed by all these branding elements that we're talking about. So the first is to have a system where the customer is managed. If we're trying to do these things ad hoc, if we're trying to keep notes in documents, we're going to fail. We're not going to collaborate well. We're not going to we're not going to gather information properly. So the first thing is a customer relationship management system. My company works with Zoho. There are excellent systems on the market. You can start modestly and you can go all the way up to the top as far as cost. But the important area is that you have a system and your specific needs and use cases. You can evaluate the systems with that in mind. But my point today is we need the system. The system makes you standardize activities. We're going to have the branded collateral in the system so that when a new contact comes in, we can configure it to send those automated follow-up series to those folks, introducing your company, your product, your solution. All of those things are canned, they're all branded, and they all have the same language so that we're all speaking with the same voice when we send collateral to clients. Proposals should be absolutely standardized, and especially when you're talking, and I'm not going to speak on the legality side of it, but having a standard legal proposal, having standard marketing in your proposal, as well as the branding of the look and feel of the documents themselves is incredibly important. In these systems, you create a pipeline which says who are your prospects and where are they in their buying journey. That should be standardized, and that should not be quoted blindly. We need to look at our pipeline. We don't keep things on the pipeline when we know it's a no. A no is a great thing because it helps us move our energy toward the next yes. So we constantly update the pipeline, and then we constantly make sure that it's current and accurate. And then make sure your people are using the system. Every great salesperson that I know over my entire career has had to be dragged into using the sales system that they've been provided. It's part of the process, but we have to know what's going on with each client. We have to record notes about our contacts. We have to know where they are in the pipeline, and we have to make sure that everyone's using that. So if the customer talks to one person in the organization, the next person knows what happened. And that's part of how we learn from our client engagements and how we can really have confidence that we've got a pipeline that is reflecting truth. There's a lot of talk about product market fit, and I found a definition that I just love. It's the simplest thing in the world. Product market fit is having a group of people who will pay you fair market value for your solution. There's a lot of ways you can define it, but I think at the bottom line, that's your measurement. So do you have something that people will pay for that solves their problem? And then beyond that, we need some of those people to really have such a feeling for the solution that they're willing to advocate it for others. So that the best marketing often has our clients advocating for us. And I think we all know it's social proof, it's often termed, but we often believe what others say about us, about a provider, more than what we believe the provider says about themselves. So being able to go to your early adopters and have them advocate for you is incredibly powerful, and it's one of the things that really will help you scale. Yes.
Ben, if you don't mind, we have a couple of more questions coming in from Sean. What would your advice be for a bootstrap founder to use for CRM? And Sean, I'm not sure if you're referring to products or types of tools, but I'll let Ben do his best to answer this question. Products. You have a recommendation on products without, I guess, endorsing one over the other. But
you mean for CRMs or
CRMs for a young bootstrap company that I guess needs the basics, but is looking to obviously save money.
There are some even free ones out there. HubSpot's CRM is free, but their sales tools are very not free. Zoho is a low-cost option. There are a lot of even other free CRMs out there. So I think the important thing is to get in there and just take a little bit and see if you can set up a client, a pipeline, and see if you can get through it and use it. As a bootstrap founder, I'm not, there are many providers who often help with that sort of thing. That's something my company also does. But a lot of the basics can be done by the individual without investment. When you get to the higher end, which in this case, HubSpot and Salesforce are definitely the higher end. HubSpot has the free CRM, but everything else not free. Salesforce has, there's a lot of limits on the higher end tools as far as how much activity you can do before you have to keep upgrading. But I would use, there's Sugar, there's Zoho is a fairly low cost one. So there's low cost solutions these days.
Excellent. And from David, how do you feel about value-based pricing? I think. Yeah, Dave, I think you missed the B there, but I'm thinking you mean value-based pricing. And David, if there's additional context you can lend to that, feel free to put that in the chat.
Yeah, I kind of kept some of this talk about pricing a little bit broad because as I understand it, people in the audience are B2C, B2B, different industries. So, I look at things like sales channels or pricing structures as the right tool for the job. So there's often great use cases. I look at how others in that same industry are pricing competitive solutions. I look at all of those things, and if it's the right tool for the job, it's great. So I know that's a hopelessly broad answer.
Well, David, we do also have a speaker. We have had some recorded sessions that do talk about the pricing and pricing strategy there. I think our last one of our last sessions.
Pricing is a fascinating world. The psychology of pricing, how to come up with different levels that make people self-elect to go to the higher level, placing higher levels there so that people understand the economy of the mid-level tier. So there's quite a whole world that we could get into on pricing.
Excellent. Yeah, there is. Appreciate it, Ben. Please continue.
Okay. So we were talking about the sales process, product market fit, and converting adopters into evangelists. We go out and we find people to try the product, and that's a great day for the business. How do we find them? Everywhere. We go to events, we go through our network, we come to StartUpNV and beg Logan to go through his Rolodex for us. We do whatever we need to do to get this product in front of real viable customers. And then what do we need to do? Well, when they have a question, well, maybe it should be part of an FAQ or a training document on our site, or maybe it should be part of the onboarding training. When they have a question, we need to be responsive. We need to capture the feedback. We need to listen. Often people don't understand the first thing we've put in front of them. And that's great because that's an opportunity for us to either change the messaging on, say, the screen or the product or the terminology we use to make it more clear. We do our very best to make things understandable before we roll it out, but we really don't know until it's in the hands out in the world a little bit. And the early adopters are incredibly important, and we can leverage that. And when we build that credibility with them, when we get their buy-in, when we take their suggestions and implement them and they can see things changing, we have a relationship. And the goal on our end is to get them to be willing to tell others about it, either in testimonials or in a video, things that we can leverage to help other people understand. As we said earlier, that's social proof. It's not what I say about my product, it's what Logan, my client, says about my product. And that's what has incredible value to us. So we have to earn that. And that's our goal, is to turn adopters into evangelists. So I also want to talk about social media. And again, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about are the things we consider before we buy an ad, before we spend a lot on social media, before we just start posting or making that video. These are some of the things that I like to have in place before we take any of those steps. The first, to use the oldest and best known meme on the internet. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is your audience is on social media pretty reliably. The bad is everybody else is on there too, and everybody else wants their attention. And there's an awful lot of stuff that can, squirrels that can run away with their attention before you've had a chance to get your message across. And the ugly is that social media companies are advertising companies. That's where their money comes from. And they basically throttle our access to customers. So our goal is to acquire and keep the customer without overspending in the process. You may have heard the idea of a social calendar. I like to make the joke that the most important first step on a social calendar is setting time on your calendar to do the social and to come up with the content. If we're waking up this morning going, gosh, I should post something, that's not a good use of our time. We want to batch our activities. We want to be efficient. We want to have preparation, and those are keys to success. So if you're going to be the one doing social for your organization, or if you're collaborating with a resource for social, I encourage you to start with the time that you're going to spend on that activity to organize it. I think it makes everything else a little bit easier. And then social media, some foundational things. We have great profiles on all these different channels. Are you using the profile? Are you optimizing the profile? Do you have an image that's the right size in the banner on Facebook, or is it blurry? Do you use the real estate? Are you saying something wherever you can? Do you have a good introduction that uses the space that you're given very well? Do you have all the links? Are they updated? If someone comes to your social media and they click a link and it goes to nowhere, that's a lost opportunity. So making sure all of those things are dialed in is very important. When you're going to post, what's the cadence of that? How often will you be posting? And that's where we're going to talk in a minute about a content calendar. Where do you post? You'll find one consultant will tell you, just go to one social media and specialize. And then you'll find another that says, broadcast it everywhere. And you'll find great reasons that both of them say that. I tend to be in the latter. I tend to want to cast the wider net. I like the tools that allow us to post from a single dashboard to many places. Buffer, Hootsuite, my company offers one as well. I tend to want to cast that wide net. But the important thing is that you have a plan, you've made these decisions, and that you're going to execute on it in a consistent fashion. When you're going to post things, is your logo on it? Is it branded? Are you using the right hashtags? And those are things that can easily be researched to see what are and hashtags, if you're not aware, are little ways to get relevant searches to find your post that are outside of the followers that you have. And then when you're posted, also be out there and be a member of the community. Comment on other things that other people are doing. Share other things that other people are doing. Be an active participant in the conversation. It's been a while since I forgot Mother's Day, but I have done this before. And when we're thinking about our social media, it's important to have a calendar already done and not to wake up and realize that I sell donuts and it's National Donut Day, which was about 2 weeks ago. It's important to have these dates already identified. And with a little bit of preparation, we can have these things done. We don't need to log into LinkedIn to go, oh, it's National Administrative Assistant Day, which isn't, so know the dates that are relevant to your business and be prepared for them ahead of time. I have for you a sample calendar, a very simple example of a social content calendar. And I'll run through it very quickly. We'll probably make this available to everybody if anybody wants it. But I set up 3 levels of priority. The first is things that are automatic. We're going to acknowledge certain holidays. Memorial Day, we're going to acknowledge those holidays that everybody talks about. We're going to have certain theme days that are relevant to your business. You sell donuts, it's National Donut Day. That's pretty easy. You want to leverage that and capitalize on that. We have certain events that everybody really enjoys. Your community is all celebrating the Golden Knights. Hey, let's join in on that. Those things, as they occur, are great. If your company's having an event, if you're participating in a convention, if you're giving the keynote, if you're speaking at StartUpNV, you want to get these things out there, and those things, as they occur, you just want to queue them up. I have top and secondary. There's certain topics that are most important that we want to return to on a frequent basis. Company product benefits, product features, types of clients you work with, customer pain points. These things we can come back to over and over. And when I show you this list, there's a second list you would make that is the 5 or 10 things that comprise each of these items. On the secondary list, you've got employee anniversaries, some great things about your company. As client testimonials come in, those are great things to make a post about. Definition of what does this term mean? And those things that we don't want to highlight every week, we don't want to overdo, but give some variety to our posts. So our suggestion is that you kind of come up with this list, and then for each of these, you make the more detailed list so that when it comes time to decide what to post, you've got all of this to pull from. You're not going to LinkedIn and saying, well, what did ABC company post yesterday? Let me see that. You know, you've got your own plan, your own cadence, and this is one of the little tools that we can use to facilitate that. I thought it'd be fun to throw some red flags about things that you see on social quite frequently that I think can be overdone. It is very easy to find or repost inspirational quotes, and often you find brands kind of over rely on this. It can be done well, but if you're doing it too much, you're probably overdoing it. If your small startup is congratulating Apple on their new enterprise announcement, you're kind of involving yourself in something that's about the other guy. There are ways to say, hey, we really enjoyed this announcement, or we think this is going to help and relate to our business in this way. That's great, but trying to bring the center of gravity to somebody else back to yourself often falls very flat. And then the classic example of things that you see on social media is pitching and over pitching and over pitching. And it's very easy to put out those kind of messages. It's very easy to do this. I'm encouraging instead that we try and add value, that we try and offer information, we try and offer solutions that aren't just asking people, hey, come to my Calendly link and let's get on the calendar right now. Or if you're in this industry, you need to get on my calendar right now. That is asking someone to the prom when you're first meeting them. That is, you have to build the relationship before you get to the point where the sale is going to occur. Your social media is your opportunity to establish your company as a thoughtful solution provider, or to entertain people if your brand is a little bit more lighthearted, to give people something that they can use, and not to use them as, hey, you're a prospect and I need you to come buy from us today. Tips for success. And on this slide, this is a post we did for our Network Vegas brand. On the right side of the slide is the photo we used. On the bottom of the slide is the post we used. Our idea is similar to what we're talking about today. It's knowing when to cultivate and when to harvest. And in the sales cycle, we're trying to cultivate relationships and spending much more time on that than we are trying to harvest the sale or the investment. So in your posts, you want to use branding, the proper logos, the colors, the fonts. You're not just going to repeat what the image says in your description. You're going to use that to expand or bring things back and make a point. You're going to use relevant hashtags. So those are some of the things that are really important in posting. Another really important thing is the more we can leverage video in our efforts, the better we're going to do. So video is viewed, consumed, remembered, and shared more than any other type of content. Not just more than images, not just more than text, but more than those things combined. People will watch what they do not read. People will watch before they do anything else. And one of the surprising things is even silently, because we don't always have the volume on our phones or on our computers. Even silently, if that video is playing and there's captions, people will watch that. And that gets more attention than the same content in a paragraph. And it's something about human nature. It's something about how we respond to stories, but it's powerful. And it's never been easier to incorporate that into your social media and into your marketing. One of the ways you're going to try and reach those early clients, those potential investors, those potential partners is direct outreach on social. And I want to encourage you, when you're doing this, there's a sort of epidemic, I think, on social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, everywhere, where someone connects with you and then they're instantly jumping into their, hey, let's get into a sales situation. Let's get into hey, let's hop on a call is the phrase you hear so often. Here's my Calendly link. We're going to do a demo and we do this for people. And they haven't taken the time to know that their product, that the person they're speaking to is in a situation of interest, is in a situation of need, is feeling the problem that they're solving, is looking at something like that, or is even aware that they're in that point of need. So what I'm encouraging is that we take a minute and establish credibility with people. We don't connect and ask, we connect and offer. It's as founders, we all know so much about the area we've devoted ourselves to. By the time you've gotten to this call, how many hours have you spent on the topic, on the product development, on the venture that you're putting together? How much do you know beyond the casual layperson in the field, beyond the customer that might see that they have certain problems but don't know the 5 or 6 hidden reasons that that's holding them back? So that information, that knowledge that you've accumulated is incredibly powerful. And you can put that together into a resource for people and share it with them. I'm encouraging you that when you or somebody on your team reaches out to a contact with the hopes of creating a relationship, you're reaching out with something to offer. And that builds your credibility. If you reach out and ask, then you're just walking up to somebody and asking them for a date, or asking somebody, you're the young guy asking a girl to the prom that he just met. You're out of step. You haven't built the credibility. You haven't cultivated the relationship in order to do the harvesting yet. So by offering something to them, by giving them value before you consider asking them for something, by doing that, you're taking the first step toward building credibility, toward giving them something they can use. And in the little meme that we made, it's the big bad wolf dressed as grandma saying, "Thank you for accepting my invitation on LinkedIn. I'd like to hop on a sales call and talk to you about our solution." So that's kind of how I've always regarded that. And it's funny how common that is, and how people think that if it works once out of 1,000 times, it's done well. But what's the negative taste you've left in so many others when you've done it in that sort of reverse order of things? Finally, I want to go with treat social like community. Be active, be positive, follow other accounts, comment on things, give people good feedback. If somebody comments on your post, weigh in a positive way, thank them if they make a nice complimentary comment, if they support your business. Make sure you reciprocate, because reciprocating is one of the ways that we help build relationships with people. When you offer something, when you reciprocate to others, it just helps build that bond that we need. Be kind to people. I think we're all aware by now that not everybody's going to be nice online. And I know that's got to be shocking to you, but meet that negative energy with kindness whenever you can. Don't get into the fights. I've rewritten more client responses to reviews than you can imagine. And the bad review is the opportunity to show that we're listening. It's the opportunity to show that we care. And even if we can't rescue the situation that led to it, it's the opportunity to show everybody else that ever sees it that we care and we pay attention. So even if one situation went bad, and if we're in business, something's going to go bad. Here and there, we all have that. It just means we're out there in the market doing our thing. But if somebody's negative in a comment, if somebody's negative in a review, be kind and respond in the right way. And don't feed the trolls. Don't queue up something that everybody can dunk on. Try and put out positive energy. Try and give people something useful, fun, something that adds value. So those are some of the tips. Most of the things I'm talking about are all the things we want to consider before we put up our campaigns, before we film. We do our YouTube pre-rolls, our campaigns on Facebook or Instagram or what have you. But I think that these foundational things will inform, they will make your ads better, they will make the copy on your website better, they will make your landing page, your video better, they will make your direct outreach better, and will help you to attract those early clients and those investors. Thank you.
Ben, from Dave online, how would you weight a white paper compared to like an explanatory video? What would you say is a correct video length if you want to make it effective?
Explanatory videos are usually quite short. They don't have to be. I'm not somebody that thinks that videos after the first 10 seconds are not as valuable. If the video is good, people will watch it. We watch 12 hours of Netflix in a row. We'll watch a video if it speaks to us. Explanatory videos are usually 1.5 to 3 minutes, 5 maybe. Like they're usually pretty short, or they're in a series that's bite-sized. White papers are great if you're giving out data that somebody might want to use or consume later, or statistics and things that you're not really, unless you're going to animate the data. White papers are often a better way to present more complex sets of facts. So I hope that's helpful.
Dave, please add more context to that if you have any more questions on that. From Deirdre. What do you consider the 3 most important things to do to gain traction or traffic on your social media pages?
On your social media pages, consistency, and I emphasize branding so much I'd be remiss if I didn't. And then figuring out which of the things you're doing has gotten engagement and building on that. So if you can be consistent, if you can have some variety in your content, if you can make sure you're carrying your branding forth, and then you're reacting and building on success, then you will grow traction. But if you, like so many people, it's been 3 weeks and I only have so many followers. If you're thinking of it that way, it's almost a scarcity mindset. If you do the thing, it will come. One of the great statistics about YouTubers that are successful is that they often had to make hundreds of videos before they became the famous YouTuber. And you can find that example in almost every field of endeavor online.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We have one more question, and this question from Nathan, I may, if you don't mind, Ben, add some context, and then I appreciate your additional insight on that. I'm trying to build an online fitness platform similar to the business structure to Patreon. I'm leveraging social media to get people to sign up to the beta test the platform. How many signups should I get before an average angel investor will take me seriously? Nathan, is someone who regularly looks at deals and presents those to investors, it is going to depend on the impact of those users. If they are paying you for the platform, then much lower than if you are doing freemium subscription. if you said it's a Patreon version of it, which I'm assuming there might be a paid subscription in there, then you honestly want to aim for, even if you don't have an actual number on it, you want to show that you are growing. You want to show that people are growing and then using the platform and continuing to use the platform, and its number is growing. If it's unpaid, you're looking at thousands to tens of thousands, likely tens of thousands of users before. You could probably do it thousands of users and demonstrate some initial traction like that, and an investor might take a look. But platforms that don't have an initial monetization method are really hard to demonstrate where the money will come from and the value proposition down the line, particularly in a crowded space. And Ben, I'll let you answer that. And then this will be our last question, if you have any more points to add to that.
No, I think you captured it very well. I think that in every field, people like to see graphs that go up and to the right. And if you can show that, then that's what you want to be looking at.
Yeah. Straightforward. Yeah. If you need investors to build a platform, hard to do. You will need to demonstrate significant amount of pre-signups for it to get that way. Nathan, you should absolutely take a look. Take a look at some of our other sessions, or to consider submitting a pitch deck. We can, our group can provide some feedback and resources on that, and provide a little bit of guidance. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this session. Ben, again, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.